Welcome to the AXPONA Audio Insider Podcast. My name is Lenny Florentine, and I am joined once again by Jeff Coates from Harmonia. But he's here to talk about audio, which just sounds and looks amazing. What's up, man? It's good to see you again.
Good to see you again too. It's been fun. I got to tell you, there's it's always fun working for a distributor because you've got all these different stories to tell. But very rarely do you get something as unique as what the guys from are bringing.
That's crazy. And, this is going to be a whole new thing for me because I'm not familiar with the brand at all. And I know you gave me a little of your history last time we met. So let's kind of get into the history of Audio. This is a speaker manufacturer that have some really nice looking speakers.
Yeah. So it's two founders, Sveinung Mala and Jonathan Cook. Just unbelievable engineering competence. But what really set them apart, so they rolled in, last year? So actually beginning of this year. So March 2025, they rolled into a Florida Audio Expo looking for U.S. distribution. They did some amazing demos, blew a lot of people away, myself included. And then Jesse Luna, our vice president, Dave Schultz, president over at Harmonia Distribution, locked them down. They were kind of the buzz of the show. Finished that, followed that up right after with an amazing set at AXPONA. And that's when I get to sit down and really listen to the guys. But it's a really cool demo because most audiophile demo, and I know we kind of bemoaned this a little bit before. It's just like, let's play the same quiet acoustic jazz. Let's play the same beautiful female vocal. And it does a really beautiful little thing. But what happens when you want to get on it? What happens when it's Saturday night, you bought this expensive system, your friends are over, they want to say, yeah, come on, man, what can it do? You're not going to put on that quiet jazz vocal. Maybe you will. I mean, there's people that do that, and that's what they dig. That's not where I live. And that's not where Jonathan lives either. So, this man walks into the room. Every time I see him, he's not quite as tall as I remember him because he seems like he's 6'10". He's easily 6'6". I'm 6'2", so I'm not used to looking up to people. So I'm already looking up at this guy. Huge. Leans heavy into the Viking thing. And he's got a damn axe on his belt.
He's got an axe on his belt.
An axe. Like an honest to goodness.
And he's from Norway. This company's from Norway.
Yes. And he is full Viking, man. So he comes in.
Does he have a beard?
No. Clean shaven. So you don't even see him coming. He's the businessman Viking.
The businessman Viking. Wow.
But he brings that kind of energy to a presentation. So he comes in. There's lots of direct eye contact, a great setup, and then just plays something huge. The speakers have this jump factor that is unlike anything else you're going to hear in a show environment, certainly. And they translate that really, really well into home, or, brought a bunch to dealer showrooms. We play them to people. And the thing that I come away with is you do a lot of this. You're like, did you just hear that? It's a lot of that. Holy smokes. It's unlike anything else that we have an opportunity to play for people. So super fun.
So this is their first time in the U.S. market, 2025.
That's right.
So they're gonna make a name for themselves because it's a big market. But
yeah,
they have. How long has the company been around?
They've been around about 5 years. So Sveinung has one previous version of the Icon loudspeaker that was introduced at high end several years ago. They hadn't brought it into the United States, and then took a couple more years developing 3 models now. And the big deal is they're working very, very closely with Seas, which is a high-performance driver company based in Norway, to do some things that they haven't offered for any other loudspeaker manufacturer. So there's a lot of direct back and forth between and Seas on, this is exactly what we want the woofer to do. This is what we want the motor to be like. This is the magnet structure that we want. So they've got some really cool proprietary driver tech going on inside these things that allow them to do things that they don't sound like you'd expect them to when you look at them.
Now, audio means strong audio.
Strong,
is that kind of?
From what I understand, this is Norse for strength.
Okay, so this should be just impactful. I mean, so you have the business Viking and very impactful speakers. So this sounds really interesting. What do people?
Super cool.
So there's 3 models of speakers. So let's go up the chain. So where does that start?
So the Frigg 02, Frigg 02 is a really surprisingly compact, slim floor stander. It's a true 3-way design, uses some very cool tech. The tweeter has a carbon fiber diaphragm, and we call it lightly horn loaded. So you'll see it sits right back a little bit into the mounting flanges, a little bit of a horn, but that's mostly for controlled directivity, just to give a really nice, even dispersion into the room. A hand-doped paper cone mid-bass driver. And those 2 drivers sit in their own separate sub-enclosure that's actually open in the back to the back of the rest of the room. So you've probably seen out on the show circuit, there's been a lot of these open baffle loudspeakers, which
there's a lot of those.
Can do a lot. There's some technical challenges depending on the size of the baffle when it comes down to producing low frequencies. So for these guys, they have the back of the enclosure open for the mid-bass and tweeter. So you get a little bit of that extra energy off the back of the enclosure. So they throw a really big sound stage and make a big stereo image. But then the bass is actually a separate vented enclosure to house that 8-inch bass driver. So what you'll notice right away is you connect a pair of these to a kind of a mid-power integrated amplifier or bigger. I mean, they always like bigger, but any decent amplifier. And right away, they throw this just absolutely enormous soundstage, and they make bass. They're dynamic. They're fun in ways that a $15,000 pair of speakers often isn't.
So once you go up from the Frigg, that is a crazy name. Do you know what that means?
I don't.
Okay.
Well, actually, I
should have studied my Norwegian.
I do. I'm forgetting. It is a figure from Norse mythology.
Okay.
And I apologize. I'll get you back. I'll hit you back on that with an email. I should have that committed to memory, but I don't.
It is. It is Odin's wife and the goddess of marriage.
There we are.
And prophecy. Interesting. Okay. So, I wonder, so are these all going to be named after mythological? Not
necessarily. The Icon 12 is not. So that's the next one up in the model. And it's, not surprising, the Frigg, right? Because this is also the most domestically acceptable speaker in the line. Like, it's very
when somebody
slim.
says, does this have the wife actually? Hey, look.
Odin's wife, man.
Right?
Right in the name. But it really is. It's a very, it's a pretty compact speaker. It doesn't stand much over 3.5 feet tall, but it sounds just enormous. I've had these in a lot of different rooms. There's 2 different wood finishes. So there's both a light and a dark oak and a gorgeous satin black and satin white. And those are really fun. We started carrying the satin black around to dealers, and people are like, satin black, whatever. But it really calls out the quality of the woodwork, the cabinet. Like, just the joints are perfect. The paintwork is perfect. They're really...
It really does make a difference when those couple things on a black, wood speaker is done right. Because I've seen it done wrong, or I've seen it where the corners or the edges aren't placed correctly, and it makes a difference when the woodworking and finishing is really done right.
Yeah, and even the way the logo is machined into the bottom of the face of the speaker, it's just perfect. Great attention to detail. And even at this level, every single speaker has a few things in common. No internal parallel cabinet walls. So you want to break up any sort of internal standing waves, lower the contribution of the cabinet to the sound of the overall system. And the Frigg is actually raked back a little bit. If you look at the cabinet, it actually is raked back slightly to time align the mid-bass, tweeter, and the woofer, so that all 3 drivers are kind of launching from the same point in space.
Yeah, I like that design.
Yeah, it's very
I
cool.
think that's important because sometimes if it's not done, and there's different ways of doing it, but if that's not done properly, you can hear that.
Mm-hmm. So the
So,
top to bottom integration on these things is sick. And we just did a hotel show down in North Carolina a couple of weeks ago and played these with actually the Pathos integrated amp that's behind me, the Logos 2. It's just so fun.
yeah.
We've been playing this track dude called Bobby Bones, "Oh Death," and it's one of those big baritone vocals and a big masked voice kind of piece, and it's the perfect entry to any of these speakers, but especially on the Frigg, they can't believe it does what it does.
Yeah, so what's their reaction when they come in the room? Do you see like face, because you don't always hear the reactions or anything. What are the facial reactions?
I kid you not. There's a lot of that. Like a lot of that. Dude, did you just hear that? Like, and it's so fun. And that's, and Jonathan Cook, the one of the founders, he's really the kind of the business Viking, as I'm going to call him. And Jonathan, I apologize. I hope you like that because it's out here forever now.
I mean, but telling me that he might have a T-shirt soon, so you never know.
I hope he likes it.
I hope he
see him
likes
in a couple of weeks.
If not, I'm getting axed.
Well, it's me
if not,
first,
he's coming after me with the axe.
It's coming after me first. So if you don't see me at AXPONA, you know what happened, Lenny. But yeah, it's just he's really a big believer in a speaker. Of course, it has to be technically competent. That's the job of the company. Yeah, the drivers have to be good. The cabinet has to be competent. Like everything, it's got to look good. That's the manufacturer's job. But when we get into a show environment, it's our job to have people walk out of there having had an emotional response to what we're doing in the space. So don't just be sitting there in the corner, looking at your phone, checking your emails, doing whatever. It's like, be there, engage the audience. They paid good money to be there. We paid good money to be there. Make sure that you're going to play something that leaves them with an impression.
Drives me crazy when I go in a room and somebody's doing that, by the way.
It's insane.
Occasionally
I'll get caught. I'll be moving
not the
stuff
interaction.
around on a queue. But yeah, it's, I think, the worst thing about streaming at shows, right? It allows people you're using the same device to control your demos that you're always distracted by.
Yes.
It's like,
that is a thing.
It's totally a thing.
So the Icon 12, now this is the second Icon speaker.
Yes.
So it had shoes to fill, and there's differences between the first one. I'm looking at the second one, but I haven't seen the first one. But so tell me about this one, because this is a very unique looking speaker.
Mm-hmm. First off, it's enormous. You don't realize the size of it because the cabinet is so beautifully proportioned.
I'm going to agree with you there, because by looking at it, doesn't look enormous.
No, but they're about, right around 55 kilos each, I think. So they're substantial. It's it's 121 pounds per loudspeaker.
Ooh.
Beautiful enclosure. And the way that they've designed the cabinet, again, no parallel walls. So it really comes together at interesting angles. There's no unused cabinet volume in this thing. So it looks beautiful from many axes. You kind of look at it and it's a really interesting shape. The more time you spend with it, the more interesting you realize it is. This is the one that they showed at Florida. This is what got showed at AXPONA. This is the one that we just bring into dealers. And sometimes people are a little scared of it because depending on how you were indoctrinated into high-end audio, there's certain things that a high-end speaker is supposed to do. There's certain presentation. Sometimes it's that larger than life, almost kind of, how do I even say it? The stereo image is designed to be a certain way. And there's a group of speakers that all kind of are designed to perform that way. To the point where, great example. So I brought these into a dealer, cranked Whole Lot of Love, Led Zeppelin. And there's that amazing thing at the end where it's kind of this big circular phasey thing going on. And it moves around the room. And the dealer's like, well, that just isn't, that's not the way that's supposed to sound. It's like, no, that's exactly the way it's supposed to sound. You've just always heard it as sort of a polite image out in front of the speakers. This is actually happening in the room. And there's some deliberate out of phase happening to create this circular motion. And then it comes back into that huge crescendo and you know the part of the song. Go back and listen to it on headphones, and you'll totally get what I'm saying here.
I mean, they're almost trying to get like a quadraphonic sound out of that.
Well, they are, and there's enough. And to think that they did that with all analog effects.
Right? Isn't that wild?
It's insane. But these do that. The distortion from the drivers, so that there's a 3.4-inch carbon compression dome that's at the back of this very special horn design that's designed by the guys at and that 3.4-inch compression driver is only available from them. That carbon diaphragm was co-designed with Seos. It doesn't even start to have any significant distortion components over the range that it wants to play until about 130 dB. So this is not the distortion of this system is so far away from any real world listening level. You just don't think about it. So yeah, this quad vertex sound field horn is designed to get really, really, really constant directivity over a very broad listening level and very, very high efficiency. So something like, what are we? I think we're 90 dB on the Friggs, the 92 dB on the Icon 12s, and 94 dB efficient on the Icon, on the Verdande. But it doesn't sound like a horn. That's what I love. You compare these to the presentation of a traditional horn system, and you're always like immediately kind of walking it back. You're like, okay, there's a lot of things this does well, but they're going to be a little shouty at some frequencies, yada, yada. These don't do that. They perform like a really good two-way, but they're just hugely efficient and really dynamic. That 12-inch bass driver, it's a very cool proprietary paper pulp cone. And then they get the extra rigidity in the dust cap. Nobody thinks about the dust cap. I was
going to ask you about this dust cap because I'm sitting here and, I don't have my glasses on. I'm looking at pictures. Yeah. I'm not zoomed in on it. What's going on the dust cap? Because I was like, is it a logo? I can't totally see, but I guess that's not what it is. There's something
it's carbon
built
fiber.
Oh, okay.
And it's very clever. As you think about, when you're trying to get rigidity in a cone, this is one of the hardest things with a woofer that also has to play some mid-range. If it was strictly a woofer, you'd want it to be pistonic and really, really, typically really high mass. Mid-range drivers, you'd want it to be a little thinner. So by using carbon fiber at the dust cap, they're able to break up a lot of potential distortion in the cone. It's still tremendously fast. It's got a huge motor on it, dual neodymium magnets. So you're always inside the magnetic flux of the motor system. So even when you're driving the heck out of this thing, it's still got excellent control. It's just a very, very, very sophisticated driver. So they use that on the NC12 is the version they use in the Icon 12, and then their proprietary 15 is used in the Verdande. So the important part, that driver, whether it's playing at 75 dB or 110 dB, it does not change its overall distortion characteristics or its tonal characteristics.
That might be the first time I saw carbon fiber put on a paper driver.
It's kind of awesome.
Yeah, that is really cool.
And this is Sveinung and Jonathan. So these guys are working directly with the manufacturer, to make sure they're doing some one-off stuff with one of the best driver companies in the world to test out some of these concepts. And it works really well.
Yeah, that is definitely a new concept. And that they bring that up to the Verdande?
Yes.
So let's talk about that one. That's the big boy.
That's the big boy. Larger enclosure, 15-inch driver, obviously different upgraded crossover component.
Wow, that's a 15-inch driver. That is a big speaker.
It's a beast.
The size of the horn, and then the driver's just a little smaller.
Yep.
But knowing that that's a 15 now just takes it to a whole new perspective.
Yep, exactly. So it has it's the same 3.4-inch compression driver, but just in a larger directional horn. But that's a really, really, really impressive product. So that's the flagship in the line. And that's where they start paying a little more attention. So these are coming in at $45,000 a pair. So the Icon 12 at $25,000, the Verdandes at $45,000 a pair. This is where you get some more detailed metalwork, a really, really cool ball bearing decoupled leveling foot that's mounted to the outrigger to give the cabinet some stability.
Sounds like they do a lot of work in the crossover as well on this one.
Absolutely. Yeah, and they do that on all the models. I shouldn't say it's special on just one particular model. One of the advantages to working so closely with the driver manufacturer is you don't have to do as much in the crossover to take care of strange little anomalies in the driver. If you need a little extra mass to make sure that your mid-range driver doesn't resonate at 2.5 kilohertz or doesn't have a peak there, you can add it. You can, and they dope the mid-range on like the Frigg, especially to eliminate some of those resonances. So simple crossovers, excellent quality parts, concentrating on efficiency, wide bandwidth for the individual loudspeaker components, and very low distortion. It's a very different listening experience than a lot of the things that you've heard.
Well, it'll be interesting to hear all these coming. Show season is coming up.
Yes.
It's going to be, the fourth quarter is the start of show season pretty much. And, that continues all the way till next spring
Absolutely.
at AXPONA, kind of the main event of that. But these Verdande speakers, all right, if you were to ship these to an alien planet for them to judge humanity on these speakers, what track are you playing on them?
Whew. Well, first, this would actually be a good one to ship them, because when they took the speaker out of the flight case, because this ships in a full-on...
Well, it's good because we're sending it to another planet. It needs a flight case.
Flight is required. So I don't know if they have, are they bipedal or like how are they moving things out? But there's a nice ramp that drops out of the cabinet, out of the flight case. You take the top off, the ramp drops, you take the speaker out. It would be easy for them to put in no matter how they...
it's almost, that's how the UFOs operate. The ramp drops down. They're going to be,
just saying,
it's a good impression.
You never know, right? We've been doing that Bobby Bones, that Oh Death song a lot. Mostly because it makes us laugh when we play it. It's just, there's this sort of a release that happens when you hear this enormous, deep baritone voice. And you kind of go, what the heck is that? It's like being on a ride at Six Flags or something. It's a sort of a endorphin rush that you get after playing it. So I'd probably go with that. And then I know I already mentioned it, but I love that Whole Lot of Love from the last Led Zeppelin remasters. I just think it's one of those things that a lot of speakers fall apart trying to do. Something that is a big rock song that you actually just love, and you think about, man, this sounded so good on the 4x6s in my 1986 Chevy Celebrity station wagon, and it sounded like garbage, but it sounded amazing because you're 16 years old and you're cruising down the highway with the windows down. It's going to take you back to that moment, the first time you heard that song, because you're going to hear something you've never heard before.
That's amazing.
That's where I go with them.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to drop down to the Icon.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If the Icon 12 was a character in a heavy metal band, what would its stage name be, and what crazy stunt is it pulling off while it's on stage playing?
Oh, man. Let's see. What's its stage name? Well, I'm not going to go with the easy, and we're not going to assume that this is like, King Diamond tribute or something. Like, it's not going to be actually a Scandinavian metal band. That's a tough one. You got me a little stumped. So I can tell you their gimmick is
okay. That works.
So we'll go back. We'll go back to that. So it's something having to do with Viking lore. I'd really have to dig into this to give it its true
okay,
thing.
well, we'll go with the theme. The theme's fine.
But during that late in the second set, playing one for the couples. Comes back out, wolf cape, picks up the double-bladed axe guitar.
Yeah.
And plays the big solo on the power ballad that tears the house down, makes all the ladies cry, and makes all the dudes just be like, yeah, man. So that's kind of where they would go.
I like it. And okay, if the Frigg could talk trash to another speaker, what would it say?
Oh, yeah. No, the Frigg would be like Joe Pesci in, what's that, his Casino? It would be that, diminutive in size, but unbelievable just attitude. Just coming out. I'm coming for you. What would specifically say? Yeah.
Like, are we talking like a mob boss type thing? Is that where?
Yeah, I just remember his energy in that. What, I'm a clown to you? I'm a joke? I'm a clown? Well, you think I'm a clown? Like, basically, come on, bring it. Like, because it can absolutely back up any threat with speakers that are double the price and certainly 1.5, 2 times the size. We've had this in rooms with some big, dominant, huge 8-driver tower speakers. And we just put the little Friggs in there and we're like, let's go.
So have you ever been to Norway?
Not yet.
So what's the guy's name who runs the company?
Well,
the
Jonathan
Viking?
and Sveinung.
Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How would he explain a Norwegian winter without using the word cold?
Oh.
What do you think he would say? I was hoping that you've been there, but since you're not, let's imagine.
No, that's on the list for this year. And I'll be spending some time with these guys. They're coming over early September, and then we're actually going to do a music festival with them down here in Austin, Texas. We're going to be we're doing a VIP kind of listening lounge thing at Levitation Fest featuring audio loudspeakers. So this is a big kind of garage, indie, shoegaze, metal 3-day show, and we're going to be blowing some people's minds. I can't wait. So I'll ask him specifically so I can give you the follow-up.
Okay. What do you think it would be?
I don't imagine he would even recognize it was cold. It would just be, well, yes, this is winter. Mildly inconvenient if there's 1.5 meters of snow, but I don't think it even phases him.
It may not. I can, that's why a lot of them have beards. I'm just saying.
It's true.
So we'll see.
No, now, so we have some fun with the Viking thing too, but it's something that they lean into, and I think it helps people to understand what they're going for, and I think that's why they do it. They're not looking to be the same audiophile loudspeaker brand, and those guys are important. There's some great brands that have anchored the very high end in our industry for years. But there's going to be consumers that want something a little different than that. And that's what they're really trying to do is say, no, we are a different presentation. We're a different company. We're going to focus more on that experience where you play this every time and you go, wow, that was really fun. I'm glad I bought this.
So for somebody that's never heard them and stuff, expand on that. Like, what would you say it sounds like to somebody who's somebody calls you up and they're just like, hey, I heard these speakers, these strong Norwegian speakers,
right?
That are made different. How do you explain the sound?
So for me, it's like seeing a favorite band in a great live club with a really good PA and a really good mix. Every once in a while you get that sense of like, okay, cool. This is about as good as it's going to get in a live amplified music environment. That's how they resonate with me. But I've also been to dealers when we've been playing big operatic and orchestral pieces. And for them, it was like, this sounds like I'm sitting in an opera hall and I'm experiencing Tannhauser in this huge space. And here we are, but we're in my listening room. So it's
amazing.
It's that scale. That's what they do really well, is they scale up, they fill a room, and they solicit an emotional response.
That's awesome. Well, I look forward to hearing them at one of the shows. It'll be a good time.
We'll be at Capitol. We'll be at AXPONA. Please.
It'd be in my neck of the woods. I'm at all of them. So
we'll make sure we play it for you. I look forward to it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us on the AXPONA Audio Insider Podcast. It was really good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
Find out about another brand that's new to the U.S. market. So this is exciting.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people have not heard of this, and this is an amazing experience. Hopefully, we were able to, let them know what to expect.
Yeah, and please, and I should mention for our friends in Canada as well, we picked up Canadian distribution for as well. So Harmonia Distribution has it for both the U.S. and Canada.
That's great. And, I learned something today too. I learned how to write that O with the slash through it on my keyboard.
Keyboard shortcuts are important. Cool.
Keyboard shortcuts are a new thing to me because I'm like, how do you spell this? How do I do this? But that's a thing. So that's amazing. So Audio, Jeff, it was great having you on the show once again. Good talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
I appreciate your time. It was amazing. And for the Audio Insider Podcast from AXPONA, Lenny and Jeff, Audio, you got to hear it at the next show for the first time. Maybe for the first time. Maybe you've heard them before. But we will see you next time.
All right. Thanks, Lenny.